Very, very exciting. Going back to Debra Medina, I've got a bunch of Twitter questions and loaded phones. Randy, Miguel, Robert, Terrence, Tom, and Georgia, and others that want to talk to you. But Debra, briefly, bottom line, your platform on the open borders, the gun grabbing, all the new taxes that Perry brought in, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to repeal those taxes? What are you going to do with the state guard with our border? What will you do as our governor, Debra Medina?
Well, the biggest thing we have to understand is the importance of private property ownership to a free and prosperous people. We don't own property in Texas. We don't own our homes. We don't own our businesses. And the property owners along the border are being run over by trespass every day. We've got to understand.
That's right. We don't own it. We pay a rent on it. Go ahead.
We've got to understand the importance of private property ownership. That means eliminating property tax in Texas, finding another way to fund school and local government. We've got to...
Yeah, government's too big. I mean, we built this country without all these taxes.
That's right. And it's a little bit of a scary thing for people to try to go through such a dramatic change. But if we're going to be a free and prosperous people, we've got to be able to keep what we're working for. We've got to be able to own our lands. We've got to eliminate property tax in Texas, eliminate all property tax in Texas, recognize the importance of private property ownership, whether you own property up in the DFW area where they're trying to do stuff with the Barnett Shale and eminent domain abuse, or whether you own property along the Trans-Texas Corridor route and they're trying to abuse it there, or whether you own property along the Texas border. And
what about federal unfunded mandates? That's what's bankrupting us.
Well, the federal government has limited authority. Article 1, Section 8, Texas has drawn a line in the sand. Nothing outside of Article 1, Section 8. We need to stand up and interpose and nullify against all overreaching federal authority. And we need to begin to weed out and push the federal government out of all of the many areas of Texas that it is currently in. I think the EPA ought to come into our sites first and foremost. They are interfering in ag and energy and manufacturing.
And they can't even get Congress to pass laws. They are lawless even at the federal level.
Right. And so we have to have a governor at a bully pulpit getting the EPA out of the state, but also rallying the Texas Attorney General and the Comptroller to stand strong. I talked in the debate about keeping our fuel tax dollars in Texas. This notion that we send it to Washington and hope we get 92 cents back for every dollar we send up there, why don't we just keep it here, let them know they have no authority? Those are fuel tax dollars raised in Texas, and Texas will keep those dollars. And Texas
amazing. You've got to be our governor. MedinaForTexas.com, Medina for Governor. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, MedinaForTexas.com. We've got to get you for governor. You've got a chance to win. You're winning in all the polls. You're surging in your overall numbers. People have to call their friends, their family, call talk radio. I'm hearing talk radio is on fire with you. Folks, we have a chance, and this will send a message nationwide. I have a question here from Twitter. If elected, would you continue to speak out against the New World Order?
Absolutely.
So the Debra Medina we hear today will be the Debra Medina we get if you're governor.
I think we were just talking about that as I was coming back from Crane. I was telling my coordinator that, gosh, I feel like I've given this same message, I don't know how many times now, thousands of times all around Texas for a year. And she said, but I keep hearing that's what people love. You stay on message. You're not changing your tone depending on the audience you're in front of. This is about freedom and prosperity, and I'm going to fight for these things that I've been talking about for years. And on this campaign trail for the past year now, we're going to win this race. We need help. We need all hands on deck. Start knocking on doors. Make sure your friends go vote. Don't just take their word for it. Check the voter roll. Make sure that they actually
absolutely. But Debra, quickly, because we're almost out of time. Bottom line, your definition of the New World Order, what America faces. What is the New World Order? Why do you want to end the Fed?
Well, oh gosh, Alex, in 30 seconds. The Fed
Take your time.
Is manipulating our monetary supply, which undermines our whole free market economic system. We've got to get rid of the Fed, but that's a federal issue. There are things we can do in Texas to secure the Texas economy, to protect the Texas economy from the crumbling dollar and from the manipulation of that central planner called the Federal Reserve System. Lots of opportunity here for freedom and prosperity. Visit MedinaForTexas.com. Talk to your friends. Make online contributions. Get on Facebook. But most of all, make sure you get out to vote beginning on February 16th and make sure your neighbors are voting.
That's when the early voting begins. I want to move quickly now to calls. But before we do that, anything else you want to add about where you stand? I love how you called Perry out for passing the state business tax, really an income tax.
Well, I tell you, there were so many things. I was just flabbergasted that he stood strong on believing that ordering us to inject our daughters with Gardasil was something he would do again. Which they admit is killing people. They admit it doesn't even protect you and kills people, and you're a nurse. You know that. And exactly, and he's saying it was a good decision. This last week, he's again interfering in that most sacred of all relationships between parents and their children, saying if your kid's not in school, I don't think they should be able to get a driver's license. You know, one has nothing to do with the other. That's the parent's call as to whether or not they'd like that child to apply for a driver's license, and if they pass the test and meet the standards, then they ought to be able to get a license. That's not the governor's call. He continues to meddle in the relationship between parents and children. He stood strong on his use of the corporate slush funds and the Texas Technology and Emerging Technology and Enterprise Funds. He thinks it's perfectly legitimate for him to take your money and give it to businesses in Texas that may or may not produce jobs. Most of them have not produced jobs.
That's right. They exempt all the big globalists. Deborah, you've got to be our governor. Folks, get behind her. She is the real McCoy, the bona fide. Let's talk to Randy in Texas. Quick call, quick comment. Go ahead, Randy.
Hello, Alex, and hello, Governor Medina. That might be a little premature.
Hi, Randy.
I have two questions for you. Okay, number one, do you think it would be a good idea for the voters to know that Perry and Hutchinson are both members of the Bilderberg Group? And second, will you come on InfoWars after you're elected for a State of the State report every month?
I'd be happy to come on InfoWars to give a report, and I think it's pretty widely reputed out there that both are members of Bilderberg. I don't know in the
Dallas Morning News.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know in the general public how many people are aware of that, but certainly those that are paying attention understand that agenda.
They're the ones. Well, hold on. I mean, they're the ones grabbing our energy and jacking up our prices. I mean, they're the ones
and messing with our monetary supply and creating the corporate welfare scheme and the industrial, military-industrial complex. I mean, it just goes on and on.
We're almost out of time, Deborah. Not to interrupt.
Republic.
Absolutely. Thank you, Randy. Miguel in Texas. Quick question.
Yes, how you doing, Alex? And good afternoon, Ms. Debra Medina. I have a question. I have a PR firm here in Dallas, and I work with a immigration lawyer, and she is so adamant about females in the politics and all. She ran for 99 elections here in Dallas, Texas. And what are you doing to break to shadow, the left and right paradigm? Because it seems that's what's more it's been detrimental for the movement. I've never really heard her asking me about political views, but she is she's not in the left and right paradigm, but she would vote for you. And now she's like, well, I have to go for Rick Perry because if not, Hutchinson is going to be there. I think that one of the things that you have to really fight for is so it wouldn't be a reoccurrent election like we had in 2000 with Al Gore.
Well, hey, Miguel, I appreciate your call, but justice be done, may the heavens fall. There's no difference if we get Perry or if we get Hutchinson or we get a Democrat. The only real candidate is Debra Medina. Deborah, closing comment here in the last minute of the show.
We absolutely can win this thing, Alex, and I think that Texans all over this state are energized, are turning out in bigger numbers. You're absolutely right. There's not a hair's difference between the political views of Kay Hutchinson and Rick Perry. They are both big government ideologues. They believe that they need to run and direct every aspect.
The government's gotten bigger under both of them. I mean, it's a fraud. They're not conservatives.
Even in the first quarter of this fiscal year, October, November, and December, the spending within the Texas executive branch, the branch of our government that is directly under Rick Perry's purview, has increased 13.5%, double-digit spending increases in government on his watch while he's telling everybody else to buckle down. He will drive us to destruction as a state and as a nation on the path that we're on because it's bigger and bigger government. People have to keep the product of their labor. They have to keep what they're working for, or we will become the Soviet Union, rich in natural resources with men and women who have no desire to work because their dreams have been stolen and everything that they work for is being plundered by the government. We must restore a respect for private property, eliminate property tax in Texas, stand sovereign as a state, rejecting all illegal federal action, and secure
Debra,
our borders so we have a healthy immigration
we're
process.
out of time. MedinaforTexas.com. Debra Medina, I'm voting for you. God bless you. We'll see you back live tomorrow, 11 a.m. God bless you all. Infowars.com.
Thanks, Alex.